Hello everybody and welcome back, where today I'm going to be talking a little bit more casually just about a game that I'm really excited for, and that is Behemoth on PSVR2 especially, but this game is coming to all platforms, Steam, Meta and PlayStation. It's by Skydance, so it's officially known as Skydance's Behemoth, and I had the privilege to play it earlier this year for about an hour or so. And hot off the tail of Gamescom, there's been a brand new trailer showcasing some of the stuff that I didn't get to play, that comes later in the game, I assume. That's really exciting, and it's kind of spurred that back in me to talk about the game a little bit more in depth than I did in my original playthrough about different things, because I don't want to just rehash my first impressions of the game. I want to tackle what we've seen after that, some of the inklings of story that we've seen, gameplay, some of the character designs, the weapons and things like that, and why Skydance's Behemoth is my most anticipated VR game for the rest of this year, and this year as a whole, really, in a lot more of a conversational tone than we usually do on the channel, as we're very straightforward and factual and pushing the same straight information here. We're going to be a bit more conversational and talk about why I am excited for this game, because one of the best parts about having this as a little side job is that I get to talk about what I'm passionate about, which is VR gaming, and this is tenfold that, because I'm talking about a game I'm really excited for that's by a studio that is one of the best in the business. They've got the pedigree that they've got for a good reason, so let's talk about why Skydance's Behemoth is my most anticipated game of this year. Feel free to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. To be honest, I think aside from Space Marine 2 and Little Nightmares 3 and Reanimal by Tarsier Studios, over the next year or two, excluding the massive release of, say, GTA 6, it is probably my most anticipated game in general. There are a couple of them tied at the top there, but Behemoth is really up there with them, because it's something that I've never really seen in VR before, and something that I've really wanted to experience in VR, which is scale. If you didn't know, Behemoth basically takes you on a journey where you fight normal humans, but you also tackle gigantic behemoths, which are just huge towering beasts, ranging in size and design, all with different boss fights where you basically climb them and kill them. And this was shown off in my hour of gameplay that I did, where I went through a couple of stages and then fought one of these behemoths. And from just the size, visual spectacle, and overall the immersion of being thrown around by one of these is an experience in VR that I wanted for a very long time. Ever since way back when, hearing Jacksepticeye in his playthrough of Shadow of the Colossus talk about the scale of that game, I imagined that in virtual reality. And Skydance is one of the studios, and one of the only studios really, that I'd trust to build that in VR and put that to, the dual screens that you have taped to your face on the PSVR2 especially, using all the features like the haptics, the triggers, the dynamic foveated rendering, the HDR to make this game look and feel the best that it does on any platform. After that little refresher, of course, I talked a lot about that in my initial impressions video, which I'll link below, but the new Gamescom trailer that we got showcases, I think, what looks to be one of the biggest behemoths in the game. I spoke to the devs during my gameplay session, and they said that the highest behemoth was probably as tall as a skyscraper, and this one looks to fit that bill. It's got massive, thin, lumbering legs that you climb up, and you have this special grip in the game that lets you grab onto the side of them, which is really, really cool, and destroy different parts. And it seems like in a lot of these fights, you're fighting smaller enemies, and then you're traversing onto the behemoth and maybe having a little break and fighting the enemies. And there is real risk to these fights, and a real sense of height and tension as you climb higher and higher and don't want to lose grip and fall off. And it's stuff like this that we've never really seen in virtual reality before that's going to push the boundary. We've seen games in similar scale in terms of what they're trying to push for different elements, say for Half-Life Alyx, a full AAA VR campaign, which is meticulously detailed, and Horizon Call the Mountain, which, does have big set pieces and stuff like that, but really is trying to encapsulate the world of Horizon in that. And even the Resident Evil games, to an extent, have these big set pieces. But Behemoth is one of the ones where I feel like I'm playing an amalgamation of a lot of different VR games that I really love. For example, the combat felt like a good mix between Saints and Sinners and Blade and Sorcery in terms of how these weapons felt and moved and acted. The dismemberment is absolutely brutal, the power-ups are awesome, the grappling hook is fantastic. There are so many different elements here put into play, and none of them really feel like a gimmick that's just tacked onto the game. And that's showcased in the trailer that we saw, where you can see the character swinging from point to point with the grapple hook and then attaching to the behemoth itself and launching themselves up. And the fact that this dev team has gotten this working on all platforms as well, as I've seen this, I demoed it on PSVR2. The Gamescom demo, I think, was on PSVR2 or maybe Quest, I'm not sure. And I've seen so many people excited and actually wanting to buy a VR unit just to play Behemoth. And I've seen that sentiment echoed for a couple of games at Gamescom, like Metro as well. But Behemoth is one of the big ones where there were huge queues for the game, which I've never really seen too often for VR, which is just fantastic. I hope everyone really enjoyed Gamescom. If you went, it looked amazing. I'm hoping to go one year, but it was amazing to sit back and watch from home and see how many people were really queuing up to play this game. And you can see that impact that that's had from other creators who didn't get to try it at the press event as well. They've now got hands-on at Gamescom, like Beardo Benjo, loved it as well, and they can kind of see why this has jumped up to my most anticipated game of the year. One of the big things as well is that they haven't really rushed this release. They've been working on it for a very, very long time. The build that I played, even though it was early and had some unfinished areas in terms of character voices and voice lines. Although the voice lines were there, they were just not finalized with the voice actor that they would have in the full game. So everything was finished, but subject to change. But that build that I played was absolutely flawless in terms of what I ran into. I think I ran into one bug where one of the boss fights was a little too easy. And that was literally it. They just had a little bit too less health than they should have done. And the rest of it was completely flawless, basically. And that was a vertical slice from a long time ago. And the fact that over the course of the couple of years they've done Saints and Sinners 1 and 2, and not really much else. So I think a lot of work has been put into this 10 to 14 hour campaign that Behemoth is, which I think is a perfect VR game length, really. It's one that I'm really excited to do a playthrough of on the channel as well. Things like that from a video creative standpoint make me really excited to do a playthrough. I haven't done one of those since Resident Evil 4, I want to say, or maybe Vertigo 2. Yeah, Vertigo 2. Which was a long time ago now. I really miss doing that. It seems like we'll have a lot of that with Into the Radius, Metro, Behemoth, Wanderer. There's a load of games coming near the end of this year where I'm going to be able to do playthroughs where people are going to be able to interact with those. And I really miss doing that. So that's one of the reasons why it's so high up as well. But mostly just due to the gameplay and the visual style being that grimy but immersive and kind of beautiful in different areas, even though it is built for all platforms, so it can't really push the PS5 too far. But it can in scale, just not in terms of visual art style quality, in terms of looking realistic, which I really don't mind because I do feel like the visual style meshes well. But of course there are some other games I'm looking forward to at the end of the year, but Behemoth is definitely at the top of that list. I mean, Metro is a beloved franchise of mine. I need to see a little bit more gameplay wise before I get really, really excited there, even though everything does seem really polished. I just want to see a little bit more, but I definitely will be there day one for that because it looks fantastic as it is. But Behemoth is one that, you know, I'm a little bit more confident in just because I played it, to be honest. That's all. And also, it's a concept that I wanted to see executed in VR for ages, so that's really high up there. Wanderer, of course, is always up there as well. Phasmophobia, Aces of Thunder. The list can go on and on, honestly. It really can. But Behemoth is one from a studio that I know is passionate about VR, knows what they're doing, knows their inspirations, and can take certain aspects from their inspirations and weave it into their own work and make it feel good to play. And I think that's where this is really going to shine. It's going to be a masterclass from Skydance, who are some of the best in the business, and they're going to prove why, I think, when this one rolls around on November 14th. This has sounded like a whole big ad for Behemoth, but to be honest, I'm just excited about it and wanted to talk about it since there's a bit of hype around it after the Gamescom trailer that looks fantastic, showing off one of the elements that I didn't play in the game, which is outside of the snowy mountain area that I did play. We're now onto this like swampy area where every time the giant stomps, you see it ripple in the water below you. So awesome stuff like that you can only do in VR seems to be abound in this game, and I cannot wait to try it out fully. I hope all of you are excited for Behemoth as well. The wait has been long for it, but we're getting closer and closer now with every passing day. So let me know what you think of it. Are you excited for any other games aside from Behemoth? Any higher than Behemoth on your list? Thank you all for watching. Thank you to our patrons and YouTube members: Luke Bentley, Phil Irving, Hazit Mirza, Ace Gamer, Hippie Pickle, Jin007, A License to Chill, Sun, WTF, Fat Controllers, Jason Parker, Lamar Hall, Jordy Bansma, Lemon64K, Callum Tierney, Mischievous Marco, The Underground Game Cat, Brian East, Alajimbe, D2Y, Underground Stranger Game Cat, The Game Cat, Andrew Aaronreich, Mark Smith, X King X Ping, Jars of Ash, The Legacy of Kane Cat, Hooked Worm, The Hoosier Game Cat, Outcast VR, Prophecy 777, Test Rate Review, Salvador, Wade, FNCS Kieran, and Sean Krim. Thank you all for watching once again, and I hope to see you all in the next one.